Filthy Casuals. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3VO podcast, where we are all on the same team. I'm one of your hosts today, Brendan.
And I'm the other one, Jordan.
And if you're new here, we're just two big ol' nerds who absolutely love video games and love sharing our love of video games with the world. So if you too are a lover of video games, then this is the show for you. As always, it's time to check in. Jordan, what's going on?
Ooh, it's been a bit. Let's pull the old girl back out, get the soapbox back
the
up here real
soapbox
quick.
right at the top. No intro, no nothing.
No intro, nothing, because I got a big one.
Oh.
It's a really big one today. This is my biggest call out on the soapbox ever, and it's concerning the last couple of weeks of us just trying to fucking record this damn podcast. Hey, God?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's Mercury retrograde.
Why do you hate our show? Why don't you want us to record? I don't get it. It's been just so the audience knows why we had like an impromptu hiatus again on this thing.
Yeah.
It was a couple weeks ago. You just got slammed at your normal day job.
Yeah.
So we had to put that on hold for that, which is totally fine and acceptable. Then we were going to record last week, and then my wife's car ended up needing to go in for 2 days into the mechanics because it needed a new starter. But then that normally would have been fine because she normally works for home on Mondays.
Right.
So that normally would have been cool. I could still go to work and whatnot. Then she got called into the fucking office because somebody else had to call in.
Right.
So completely screwed us over for that night as well.
Yeah. And that day I didn't have water.
Yeah, and you also didn't have water the whole day. That's right.
Yeah.
So
And then 2 days later, we didn't have electricity.
Oh, Jesus, really? You didn't tell me about that part. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Both were planned. They just happened to be in the same week. But that's okay because...
That's rough.
The last time that they were like, hey, we're shutting off your water, Edison was like, we're also shutting off your electricity on the same day.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a dick
So the
move.
last time... It was awful. And our electricity was out until like 3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
That day. Yeah.
Oh.
It was awful.
It was especially right now when and last week it was starting to cool back down again, but it wasn't like nice yet again.
Nope. Oh, and we found out today that they're shutting off our water tomorrow.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm dead serious.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
This place is rotting.
What is happening here? Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, so whatever the higher entity or Mercury being in fucking retrograde.
Yep.
Which I don't know enough about. When is Mercury not out of retrograde? Because it's always the one I hear of.
I'm so glad you asked.
I'm genuinely curious.
So
it's filthy casuals. Let's just talk about this shit for a little bit.
First off, do you know what retrograde means?
New.
Okay, so when we view Mercury or other celestial bodies in the sky, they appear to travel across the sky because we're seeing it as we orbit the sun and as the planet also orbits the sun.
So everything looks like it's moved. Yeah, I got you.
Right. So we're viewing it. So as we approach Mercury, it's the closest to the sun. So it's orbiting around the sun a lot faster than we are.
Okay.
So we are going on our path, and Mercury is on its path, and it's coming and coming and coming and coming. So what happens is, when we're viewing Mercury, it appears on the left part of the sky. It travels, and then it goes back, and then it travels again because of an astronomy aspect called parallax and things. I don't know. Astronomy was a long time ago. But basically, because we're traveling at a different rate than Mercury is, and all of the other planets, it crosses our sky, then slows down, moves back the other direction as we view it, and then continues its journey across the sky.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
So from the way we're looking at it, it looks like it's going in the normal direction, and then it looks like it goes
Backwards, correct.
And then continues on.
Correct.
If it's not really going backwards, it's just the way that we're viewing it.
No. It's just how we view it across the sky. So that period of time where Mercury is seemingly passing backwards in our sky is what is referred to as retrograde.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is that meant to mean?
Great. So Mercury is the celestial body that governs travel and communication.
Okay.
So that is why things break down during Mercury retrograde.
Wow. I hate that it makes sense for what happened to us. I really hate that.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. While we're just doing this like astrology talk at the top here, apparently, are there other planets that do things that sort of are like? I know that's sort of what it's all about is the stars and the planets and whatnot, but like. Mercury being in retrograde is always the one that I hear about. And it's kind of become like a joke.
It kind of has, but it's because it's the one that's happening most frequently.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because it goes Mercury, Venus, then Earth, and Mars, and a bunch of others, right?
Gotcha.
So all of the planets, we do view them having retrograde. It's just that. So Jupiter, right, has like a huge orbit, way bigger than ours, right? So we're going around like this. When we finally actually see it, it's like a long time before we see it again. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But Mercury is going like woo, woo, woo around the sun, so we see it a lot more.
We see it more often. Okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Gotcha.
That's
okay.
I'm sure that an astronomer could come for me in the comments, but that was like a very basic. Like,
It made sense to me. I tracked it. It made sense to me. It tracks.
Yeah.
Okay, well then in that case, I'll throw up there too. Fuck you, Mercury. What the hell? Just to get that in there too. True. So I'm yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, and then just a couple little touchstone soapbox moments as well. Stop leaking gameplay footage before people are ready to fucking see it. And if you react badly to that shit, you're an asshole.
What?
Also, if you don't like the new Ariel, you're a racist. Sorry, I don't make the fucking rules.
That's true. But we don't need to talk about that more because that's just.
Yeah, we'll need to
That's
cover
true.
that a little bit at some point.
But tell me more about what gameplay footage getting leaked.
Some gameplay footage got leaked for GTA 6.
Oh.
And it's been Rockstar's been working on it for a couple of years now, but they've been very honest about the fact that it's like they're still in the early development process for working on the game. And someone leaked early gameplay footage for it, and like it looks like they're still doing tests. Like a lot of the environments are still blank. The character models are still fairly plain looking. Like a lot of the graphics aren't like quite. It's like they're making sure the physics and all that shit works. Like it's still very much in the early phase, but people are like trying to rip it apart and be like, "Oh my god, all these years of development, this is still where they're at." And blah blah blah. I'm just like, I said nothing because I don't know how the fuck to make a video game. Like I love them to death, but I'm never gonna look at something that is meant to be. Just wasn't meant for me to see and just assume they're clear. Well, this game's gonna suck now, obviously.
That makes no
it's
sense.
it's so annoying and dumb.
You gotta build the foundation before you paint the walls.
Yeah, but the nice thing that's happened there too was that like other development companies saw the shit talking and backlash and they came from this, and they have shared stuff from their games in like the same time of development and gone like, here's what our game looked like the company that made Control and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I think Epic Games for Gears of War also like shared their early stuff. It was just like, hey, this is where pretty much we were at the same time that they were working on this game, and here's what it looked like. So this is totally normal for a game to look like this right now, guys. It's fine. Like, it did come into a thing where it's kind of cool to see like companies sort of like drop that competitiveness that they have to have with each other and just go like, no, guys, this is how game development works.
That's really nice to see that like happen in solidarity.
It was really cool.
Really cool.
So if I'd like, obviously we shouldn't need these really douchey moments to get that kind of solidarity out of it. But it was nice to see that other companies didn't like try to dogpile and shit talk on it.
That's really cool
too. So
yeah. Well, that's really great. What else have you been up to though? What's going on right now?
So the big one that's been happening is that we finally started the campaign for D&D that I'm DMing.
Yay! How's that going?
Seems like it's going good. So far, no major complaints from my players. Everybody seems to be fairly happy with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and I'm having I knew once I got into D&D, being a DM was going to be something that I was going to enjoy. Like I knew like my personality type like that screams for me to be in that chair. You know what I mean? It absolutely makes sense for me to be there.
Yeah.
I just wasn't anticipating how much fun I really was going to have. Like I knew I would enjoy it, but I figured that there would also be like an equated level of like being stressed about like trying to keep everything in mind and handle everything. But one, it's all of our fucking friends and people I've known for at least like a decade now by this point. So like, I know, right? I know. At least
I gotta go. Yeah.
Well, how old were you? How old were you?
Decade.
It was about. It's been about a decade.
Well, we met during Rent, and that was 2012.
That was 2012. Yeah,
that was April 2012. So it's
April 2012. It's been over a decade.
Over a
now.
decade.
Oh God. Okay. Wow. So we're all old.
Yeah. No, I was 18. Yeah, I was 18.
Yeah.
And I just turned 29 a couple weeks ago.
That's right. Oh, you're almost a 30.
I am almost 30.
I'm not gonna lie to you. We've talked about this before. I had that same thought about turning 30. 30's been great. I love my 30 so far.
That's nice.
30's been awesome.
I picked out my grave plot.
Christ.
I'm kidding. I feel young in spirit, but my body's like, no, you're old, bitch.
Oh, yeah, well, that's never. You can't do anything about that part.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about that part. That's true. You just got to keep that young spirit, though.
Yeah.
But video game wise, what I've been up to was a buddy recommended a game that I've heard about for a while, and it just came to Game Pass called Deathloop.
Oh, yes, I've heard of this.
Yeah. And I kind of passed it off at the beginning because the way that I saw it was that I was like, oh, somebody took like something like a Dead Cells or Hades, like that roguelike dungeon crawl thing of just like you go until you die and then you start over with nothing and you go again. And it looked like they'd done that but translated to a first-person shooter.
Right.
To which I was like, as far as like that mechanic goes, probably would be the one that I would enjoy the most, just like with my style of gameplay that I prefer. But I know that's not normally my thing, so I'm not going to go into it. But my buddy David recommended it to me, and I was just like, all right. He and I normally tend to link up on like games and whatnot, so he was the one that recommended. We did a whole episode on it. Good lord, 12 minutes. He's the one that recommended. 12 minutes. He was the one that recommended that to me. So I was just like, all right, I'll give it a shot, and it's free on Game Pass, so why not?
Right.
Started it up immediately. My character got stabbed in the chest by a lady. It's like the opening cinematic for the game, and I was like, okay, you at least have my attention right now because strong opening.
Yeah.
And there's actually a really interesting, it's very similar to Hades in the sense that there is a really interesting storyline involved with the time loop that you're sort of stuck in. And because it is a mechanic of like, you go until you die, and then once you die, you do have to start over from the beginning with nothing.
Right.
But there's a few more stopgaps in there, like you could get killed in a map twice before you have to completely start over. And there are like levels you move through that make it a little bit more manageable in terms of it not just being like one big area you're trying to get through.
Right. It's not like a Dead Cells. Where
it's not like a Dead Cells.
Literally start at the beginning and have to do a run.
Yeah. It actually lets you, but it goes into the arc of a whole day. So you start in the morning, and there's certain things that you can do depending on what time of the day you go to certain areas in the game.
Interesting.
So it'll affect that and whatnot. So you can go and pick stuff up from one area in the afternoon, go back to another spot at night, and then hold on to your shit for the next morning to get back to another area to go back to.
Very interesting.
Really, really interesting.
It sounds almost like a Majora's Mask kind of mechanic because
very similar to how Majora's Mask ran.
You got 3 days in Majora's Mask, but you go and you do this thing and then you reset and you're like, okay, we figured that part out, so now we're gonna go over here and do this. So like it kind of feels like that.
Very much like that. Yeah. And it's the same company that made like Dishonored and stuff like that, so it's similar mechanics in terms of kind of like you can 100% just run in guns blazing if you want to.
Nice.
It's riskier.
Or you can Splinter Cell.
Or you can Splinter Cell and try to stealth your way through it. And like, but it's cool too because it also really allows, because like I end up working more in like a middle ground where I'm just I'm gonna go in, try to be as stealthy as I can at the top, take out as many dudes quietly as I can, but then once shit kicks off, I'm ready to run and gun.
Right.
It's typically how I tend to play that kind of stuff. And it actually works well for that mechanic, and it's still like, because sometimes when games try to do that, it often feels like that, like if you end up having to run a gun, it makes you feel like you failed at stealth. Right. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this one is just kind of like, you tried your best. Anyway, start shooting. Like, just start going.
So anyways, I started blast.
Pretty much. That's pretty much the... Oh, well, all right. Guess we'll just start killing everybody.
Right.
So, been having a lot of fun with that. And just like the writing for this game is so clever.
Nice.
Like, it's it's really... It reminds me of like... I know you haven't played it. We got to play it at one point though. But it reminds me of like early like Portal days. Or like Team Fortress days of like writing. Of just like... Really fun, really clever, just like
fun, tongue-in-cheek.
Very tongue-in-cheek,
yeah.
But just like it just I'm having a really good time with it, and I can't wait to keep playing it, as well as getting through as much of the Resident Evil series as I can right now to continue for the rest of the timeline episode that we're doing.
What's the company on Deathloop? The developer?
I think it would be Bethesda. I don't know the other developer that works under Bethesda that worked on like Dishonored and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure I'm relatively. If only we had the internet that we could just check this stuff real quick.
Only we had the internet.
I know, right? Let's see.
Our fingertips.
Who made Deathloop? Yeah, Arcane Studios, which is part of Bethesda.
Okay, great.
There we go.
Cool.
So we got that. So yeah, shout out to Arcane Studios. It's an awesome game.
Nice.
I really like it. So.
Pretty cool.
What about you? What's been up? There was some talk about some Pokemon stuff going on before we recorded.
So recently Garrett and I have gotten into playing a Pokemon randomizer.
Oh my god, I know about randomizers.
Yeah.
Particularly in Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've always been kind of fascinated by the idea of like somebody going in and breaking a game and like saying, we're going to take all of these files now, these are my files, and shuffle them up and then put them back in.
Yeah.
Like that's like very funny to me, right?
Yeah.
So we're playing a Pokemon Soul Silver Soul Link Nuzlocke randomizer. Do you know what all of those words mean? Okay, great.
You lost me after Pokemon.
Okay, so Soul Silver is one of the games.
Okay, gotcha,
in the Pokemon lines, right? It's the remake of Pokemon Silver from way back.
Okay.
It's a Generation 2 Pokemon game. They remade it in like 2009, I think. It's called Soul Silver. We're playing a randomizer, which means so there's different degrees of randomizer, right?
Okay.
And the way we did it and we picked it is like the items are the same, so you get the same items in the same places, but all of the Pokemon that you can find in the wild, your Pokemon that you pick at the beginning, all of the Pokemon that you get for free within the game somewhere, and all of the trainers Pokemon and wild Pokemon are all randomized. So any Pokemon can show up anywhere at any time.
I've seen this in other people's like, streams and stuff before.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can go a step further and be like, well, now all of the like moves are random and like Pokemons are different types now and things like that. We're not playing like that. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
You can set it so that like after every level your Pokemon evolves but into a different type species of Pokemon.
Jesus fucking
chaos. We're not doing that. So that's that. Do you know what a Nuzlocke is? A Pokemon Nuzlocke?
Not even a little bit.
Okay. So base level, because there's a lot of different rules that you can add on kind of a la carte for a Nuzlocke, but the base rules for a Nuzlocke are you can only catch one Pokemon from every route, and it's got to be the first Pokemon that you encounter in that route.
Oh my god, okay.
So you get limited options for Pokemon. And then if a Pokemon faints in battle, it's done. You can't use it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we're playing...
What's funny to me is that like now that that's something you could just input in a game, I remember kids were just doing that as like a challenge for themselves.
Well, that's
like
what
without
it is.
having to.
That's what it is.
No, without like there's no mod.
No.
Okay.
No. It's only self-imposed rules.
Got it.
The
okay.
randomizer, you have to put the ROM into the randomizer. It shuffles the files for you, and then you have your ROM file.
But the other stuff is.
But the Nuzlocke is self-imposed, and then so we're playing concurrently in what's called a Soul Link, which means the first Pokemon that I catch on this route and the first Pokemon that he catches on this route are linked. They can be different Pokemon, but they're linked. So if his dies, mine also dies.
Oh, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah. So we have to go, like, kind of step by step.
Yeah.
And play together, really. And we, like, get to strategize together.
Okay.
And we get to go, wait, what is this? What type is this Pokemon? And what's it good against? And do I retreat? You know, it's cool. It's like a very complicated puzzle.
Right.
You know?
So is this whole package just called the So You Think Your Marriage is Solid? Because this sounds like we can't afford marriage counseling.
Honestly,
if we can make it through this, I think we're good.
Honestly, it's not that stressful for us. Maybe because we're just like really good at marriage or whatever. Okay. But it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, cool.
It's been a lot of fun. And
I also know you both will have to know that just like at a certain point with something like this, you would just be like, oh, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Exactly. Oh, I killed it. Okay, well, we can't catch that Pokemon anymore.
Maybe like a quick moment of like, why did you? Never mind.
Yeah. It hasn't gotten, at least, we're still in the very early stages, so it hasn't gotten too crazy yet. We have like 5 Pokemon right now.
Okay.
That we've caught. Only lost a couple. Haven't died, haven't lost anybody. That's really, really good. But yeah, we're just having a grand old time.
Nice.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. And it's really silly because all of the Pokemon are available, you can run into like legendary, rare, you never see them kind of Pokemon all the fucking time.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
It's so
just
much.
Like, the opening area is kind of like, oh, it's supposed to be like the god of Pokemon.
Yeah,
and he's
literally.
just like hanging out in the grass, I guess.
Literally.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so we're having a grand old time. That's what we're working on doing right now.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Very
it's
cool.
nice to have something that you guys can like do together, you know?
Yeah. Remember ages ago, me and the wife were going to go through the whole Halo series together because she also appreciates first-person shooters. And like Halo was one that I kind of skipped her. And we started doing it and just like fell off. I wish I could get back into doing something like that again.
Yeah.
I miss playing games as a couple. It was always fun.
I would recommend it.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, haven't been playing too much of anything. I've just been super busy.
Yeah, that's been the other problem.
I'm
It's
going
just
to the gym though.
nice. You do look good, man. You're looking good. I like it. You always looked good. I'm not trying to say that like you didn't
I understand.
look good.
I know what you're saying. And it's not about looking good, but it is about feeling good.
It is about feeling good.
And
It is
I'm
absolutely about feeling
eating
good.
cleaner. I'm like taking protein. I'm like doing the whole
Nice.
thing.
There you
I've got
go.
a personal trainer who I got to tell you about my personal trainer.
Please.
So imagine a personal trainer in your mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. So gym rat, swole,
Yeah.
go, 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 right? That
Yeah,
kind
a
of
little
energy.
intense.
Now throw that all out.
Really?
My trainer is an angel sent from above.
Oh my God.
He's super chill.
Nice.
Super soft spoken.
Okay.
He's like fit, but he's not like yoked out, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't, this is gonna sound weird, but he doesn't push me
Okay.
hard.
Yeah.
You know some
Yeah.
trainers and some gym people can be like really like in your face, like go, 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 you know, like,
Yeah.
that whole energy.
Yeah.
He's not that at all. He's just like, one more. You got it? Okay. It's great. And it's exactly what I needed.
Right.
It's exactly what I needed.
Well, because you never, it's like, it's the problem that I have with like personal trainers sometimes too, is that it's like you go in there and you're just like, we got to push as hard as we can right away. And it's like, that doesn't work for everybody. That doesn't
Yeah.
always work for,
Yeah.
I have to like, I really had to ease my way back into working out. It's like start slow and build myself back up. And
Yeah.
whatnot. So it's like going in with that attitude, not a fan of it.
Yeah, no, me either. And he's big on like, are you good to go for another set? And I'm like, yeah, I can go. Because I'm thinking like, I got to get through it, you know? Like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about doing it as fast as possible. And he's like, no, I still see you're breathing hard. Like, rest. And I was
Relax, you're
like,
fine.
oh. It's eye-opening. It's nice.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
think everybody should have a personal trainer like that.
There you go. Or just, I don't know. There needs to
At least try it out.
I think there needs to be more variety in terms of like the kind of trainers that facilities offer people.
Yeah.
Because I know people that like that, just like, let's go. Like that is their vibe. And it
Yeah.
totally fucking works for them.
At the gym that I'm at, now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't actually seen that personal trainer. I haven't seen
Okay.
anybody. And they have like a whole section of the gym. It's called the Cave, and it's behind like a gate.
Yeah.
And it's specifically for people who are working with their personal trainer. So it's like kind of one of everything.
Okay.
Sort of.
Yeah.
In an isolated area. And so I'm in there usually with a lot of other trainers and they're people that are training. And like I haven't ever seen that like typical stereotypical idea
Like way over
of
the
a
top,
personal
like,
trainer.
super
Yeah, exactly.
alpha or
So maybe it's
whatever,
how that's how they're making personal trainers nowadays.
Maybe it's like I
hope
would
so.
imagine that's like the new vibe for it.
I hope so.
Yeah, because I know people who have just like fully left gyms because they're like, I just couldn't find a trainer
Yeah.
that I vibed with and just like who I could work with. Like
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, cool. Love
love
that
it,
though.
yeah.
Always about people getting into fitness. Always about it.
Now, with all of that out of the way, it's time to dive into our topic for today. Today, we're taking it easy on our Filthy Casuals episode, and we're talking about all of the game titles that we are excited about, bringing us into the holiday season this year, and then on even into 2023. And this is a non-exhaustive list, because holy crap, have you looked at what's coming out soon?
So
Oh my
much
God.
shit that's
Yeah.
been announced. So much stuff has been announced.
Yeah.
For now and into the near future of just
Yeah.
like stuff that's coming out with like no official dates or titles yet that I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to.
Yeah.
I just finally watched the Disney Marvel showcase for all the games that they got coming out on whatnot. And fully expecting me not to see a bunch of stuff on there that I was going to be super excited about, but plenty of stuff that I'm actually like, at the very least, like, interesting. Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm super excited, of course, for all of the Nintendo titles that
Makes
are coming
sense.
out, because, like, oh my God.
Makes sense.
Nintendo owns my whole ass, and they know it, and they own my wallet too, by extension. So, first up, obviously, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is coming out November 18th of 2022. So, like,
Pretty soon.
a month and a half away.
Couple months away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a month and a half. This is, of course, the new mainline Pokemon title.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen at least a little bit about
But
it.
catching a little bits of it here
Yeah.
and there just because of watching like the announcements and whatnot. But yeah.
It's being touted as the first fully open world Pokemon game. No delineation between towns and like a wild area where you can go catch Pokemon.
Okay.
Which is super exciting, because I mean it's like that Skyrim aspect, right? It's like there's no like in between, there's no like loading screens, you're moving from like out in the country into town, you know. that's this is the first time that a Pokemon game would do that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, we're all hoping, I think, that they're expounding on the ideas and the mechanics and everything that they got kind of like dipped their toes into with Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Yes.
And are just going further with that because Pokemon Legends Arceus was a triumph, and it would be really cool to see that incorporated into a mainline Pokemon game.
Yeah, remember we talked about that a little bit when you were playing the Arceus? Is that what it was? And your hopes that this was going to be like the testing grounds to see if they could do it on like a much bigger scale with like a full blown, just like absolute like big going wherever the hell you want to, just like open world Pokemon, which I think is what people have always wanted from Pokemon for a long, long time at least.
Yeah,
because it's like the games have always worked really well, but I think what you want is that feel of like, I'm just a dude wandering around catching Pokemon and fighting trainers. You know what I mean? Like
I'm just Ash Ketchum. I'm 10 years old and I'm taking on the world. Like that's all I want. Yeah. Exactly. Also coming from Nintendo, obviously, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Holy mackerel, it looks so good.
First of all, that is just a great title. It's a great...
Isn't it?
My first thought was as soon as I saw it announced, I was like, that is a Zelda title. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, not that anything has ever, like, missed, but I feel like some things you kind of look at it like the only example I can think of would be, like, Skyward Sword is sort of like, oh, sure, I guess that's Zelda. You know what I mean? But like Tears of the Kingdom is just like perfect. Like you get something of a tone out of it.
Yeah.
Like and you get a feel for it immediately just based off the title alone. It's still going to be using the Breath of the Wild sort of like open world idea from what I've seen.
From what we saw in the trailer, it actually looks like there's going to be like an aerial kind of aspect, a lot of like floating pieces of like ruins and land and stuff. It actually looks like there's a shot in the trailer that makes it look like pieces of the land have actually ripped up from the continent and have floated up into the sky. Now we don't know if we're going to be able to go from like the area that we knew from Breath of the Wild, like that map, to
up into the sky,
or if we're going to be kind of relegated to just what's happening up in the sky. That's unclear so far.
Right.
But it's exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to be cool. Like and anything, just like again, I never got to play it all the way through, but just like getting to watch people play and see the experience of Breath of the Wild, any expansion on that is to me can only as long as the story is solid. Just like that can only cultivate more amazing moments of gameplay and more fun for players.
Yeah.
Just like it's weird because like I'm not a big Zelda fan, but just like because of what I've seen for it, I'm so excited for Zelda fans. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I understand this isn't for me, but like this looks so cool. I'm like I'm so happy that you get to play this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something that I was excited about too is there's a TikTok that I saw breaking it down. I forget the creator, otherwise I would at them. But a creator on TikTok that was not me, this did not come from my brain, was looking at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and then another title, Skyward Sword.
Yes.
And they were breaking down how like, oh, this game was kind of about power and this game was kind of about wisdom, and so this game, Tears of the Kingdom, is probably going to be about courage. And that's the three pieces of the Triforce, right? Power, wisdom, and courage. The color scheme for a lot of things in Zelda is red and blue and green.
Yes.
Red being associated with power, blue being associated with wisdom, and green being associated with courage. And Link, who holds the Triforce of Courage, and it also lines up with the goddesses Din, Nehru, and Farrar. Anyways, without getting too far into the weeds.
I got you.
Essentially, what they were driving at was like this third game is like the third in a trilogy, and and sort of like a pseudo trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And the focus is probably going to be really aligned on that third piece of the Triforce, courage.
Gotcha.
So they're thinking that it's going to be a little darker and a little spookier. And if you've seen some of the unused concept art from Breath of the Wild, there is some really freaky shit that they didn't use.
Okay.
So it would be cool to see like a really dark kind of almost horror take for a Zelda game.
It would be cool.
And so I'm here for that.
It would be cool. I don't know how far they can go into
I know. And that's
like,
I know. I kind of thought that too. But it would be kind of cool to see him
it would be cool. It would be really cool. And it's not like Zelda has like had darker elements to it as well. Like Majora's Mask has some very creepy imagery to it.
Yeah.
Just the overall design of some like the way that everything looks in that game is just like sort of just like okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely had nightmare fuel from other Zelda titles.
Oh yeah, same thing I'd say with like Twilight Princess. There's some darker imagery there as well, but like very cool and interesting looking as well.
Absolutely.
But like, yeah.
So that's the update on Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. That's coming out May 12th of next year.
Brilliant.
Cannot arrive fast enough. Stepping back in time, we've also got some announced N64 ported titles coming to the Switch on the N64 emulator that I am excited about, and me and like 5 other people in the whole world are excited about. But we've got Mario Parties 1, 2, and 3
The
coming.
Originals of So You Think Your Marriage is Solid.
Yeah, really.
The beginnings.
Truly. And then also Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, which I'm, of course, very excited about because I spent hours playing those.
The Pokemon Stadium games came out right around the time where I was just really starting to be like, I don't know if Pokemon's my thing. So I never got to fuck around with those.
Yeah, I understand. The great thing about Pokemon Stadiums 1 and 2 was not that you could battle a bunch of trainers and play with all the Pokemon and all of that. It was the mini games.
Oh, yeah,
There was mini games in both of them, and they were fucking sick. I played them for hours with my family.
There was a Sonic game that had that, where it was just like the main state, the actual like main game sucks, but the mini game of like
you're thinking
the
of
little
you're thinking of Sonic Adventure 2, and you're thinking of the Chow Garden.
Yes, the Chow Garden, that was it.
Yeah,
that game sucked, but the Chow Garden was
Garden was lit.
Chow Garden was a blast. That's right. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I ran through the levels so that I could feed my fucking Chow.
Exactly.
Yes.
They should have just released one that was just like a fucking handheld version that was just the Chow Garden. That would have made millions of fucking dollars.
Anyways, so announced ports of Mario Parties 1 and 2 coming out in 2022, and then Mario Party 3 and Pokemon Stadiums 1 and 2 coming out in 2023. Undetermined dates so far, but they are coming. Mario Party 3 is also really exciting for me and my family because it's like the one Mario Party game that we rented from Blockbuster. Which is a very dated term to use.
Yes, it is.
No, it wasn't Blockbuster. It was Hollywood Video.
Oh,
Even older.
Oh no, listen. I have a special place in my heart for Hollywood Video because there was one across the street from my house.
Oh my gosh.
So there was always it was every weekend hanging out with the buddies, and we'd go rent a game we wanted to try out or hit the horror section. And our thing, sorry, slight tangent to the left here a little bit here. But our thing, and this is why I'm such a hound for horror in general, is because we had a thing where we'd hit the horror section and we had to pick out. It had to be 3 movies. It was one horror movie that we already knew we liked. So like a Shaun of the Dead, Texas Chainsaw, like something we were like, this is solid. We'll have a good time with this. Something we had never heard of before, just to try it out, and something that looked so terrible just based on the cover.
Nice.
Which is how you get really fun stuff. Like we picked one up because we thought it was going to be shit called Zombie Honeymoon, because we were like, what a terrible fucking title. Movie's actually really fucking tight. Turned out to be a cool movie. That's also where we found Cheerleader Massacre, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly what it sounds like, yeah.
But anyway, sorry, slight tangent.
No, you're good. Anyways, so I'm excited about Mario Party 3. We rented it so much. It was one of those that you rent so much that you could have just bought the game.
You probably just should have bought it.
Probably just should have bought the game.
Yeah. That was me with the first Assassin's Creed game.
And
I just should have bought this thing.
It's one of those random N64 titles that if you try to buy a cartridge of it now, it's like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
For no reason.
For no reason at all.
No reason.
There's no reason for it.
So we haven't played it since the 90s or the early 2000s or whatever when it was out. So, yeah.
So nice to see that it's getting ported in. It's going to be cool.
Coming back.
How does that stuff work for the Nintendo ports for like the older games? Is there like, do you still have to buy the individual game, or is it like you download like the emulator onto the Switch and that's how it like...
Right, good question. So you pay to have access to the emulators because they have it for the Genesis, the SNES, and for the 64 right now.
Oh, wow, okay.
But you have to have a Nintendo Online membership.
Gotcha.
So you have to pay for the online access, but then you get all of the titles that they port to those virtual consoles.
Okay.
So if they ever add anything to any of those consoles, you get them.
That's actually pretty cool. Okay, cool.
And they have lots of titles on there already.
Yeah.
You know, like Banjo-Kazooie and the classic Super Mario World and
Yeah.
Yoshi's Story. You know, like
Oh wow!
I played so much Yoshi's Story.
That's a deep cut.
know.
That is a Nintendo deep cut right there.
I know. Oh, it's a great game though.
Oh, so it was a
good.
wonderful game. It was a wonderful.
And like every Kirby game that there's ever been
Yeah.
is on there. So you get the membership, you get access to all of those types.
So, like, if you are, like, somebody who grew up and loved Nintendo, it's totally worth getting something like that. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Going back to things that are new and coming out, there are a couple of cozy farming sim games that I'm excited about personally.
Okay.
One of them is Fae Farm, which is a new farming sim, you know, a la Animal Crossing, but more focused on the farming. But it looks cute. Fae Farm, hello.
Yeah.
And that's coming out spring 2023, and I'll probably get it because I'm that bitch. And then the remake of Story of Seasons, It's a Wonderful Life is coming summer 2023.
Never even heard of this game.
And no one ever has.
Okay.
It's one of those millions of story of Seasons games, but it's the one I had as a kid on the GameCube. And so I'm excited because I'm like, oh my god, I can actually play
Finally,
it.
the game that I loved when I was a kid is going to get a remake.
Exactly.
I got you.
And it probably wasn't good. I don't remember too much about it, but it'll probably be better on the Switch because it's a complete remake, remake, not just a port. So that's exciting to me.
That's something I would like to see more of like stuff that like maybe when it came out, you look at it now and you kind of go like, we see what the intent was here. We just didn't have like the ability to do what we really wanted to do here.
Right.
So let's see what we could do with this mechanic now with like higher technology.
Yeah, I
and
think it's
whatnot.
going to be really, really good.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you? What are you excited about? That's all for Nintendo.
I got you.
I cornered the market on Nintendo titles.
You're all good. I got a couple things. You've written down here on our outline here. You've got something that I'm looking forward to, which is the Callisto
Protocol.
Mostly because I don't know anything about it other than it's sort of a spiritual successor to Dead Space, because it's by one of the original creators of Dead Space. Which we know by now, Dead Space is one of my favorite game series ever. I still fucking love it.
And that's
we'll
what
also talk about the remake. But
I knew that you'd be excited about it.
it looks so fucking brutal. Like it looks so rough.
Yeah.
And I just like, oh. Okay.
Did you watch the teaser for it, the cinematic trailer?
No, because I'm just gonna buy it. Like I'm especially listen. We know, especially when it comes to horror stuff, I pretty much ignore as much as I can.
I know.
I've seen a couple I've probably seen the teaser.
Okay.
I've probably seen it.
Okay.
But the less I know, the more excited I am for this.
That's
so
fair.
like it's one of those like, you've got my money. You know what I mean? Like we're good.
You got me.
We're set. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
I just really like the idea of, sometimes with space games and like creepy space games, it feels like a little far-fetched because it's like, this is happening in this distant universe on this distant planet that's not anywhere near here.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have a game that's set in our proverbial backyard, right?
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
That is cool. That's true. I do like that. My take on that has always been like taking it to the far out reaches and whatnot. Like something like with like the first Dead Space game, which again, the remake, I'm very excited about for that as well. Is that's kind of what makes it scary to me, is that you're on a ship that's just stuck in the middle of space, thousands and thousands of light years away from Earth or any other contact with other humans and whatnot. So that's like, it's anything that happens on Earth is terrifying, but arguably be like, well, I could wait for rescue. I could wait for this. I could wait for that. Yeah. You're just stuck in the middle of fucking nothing. Literally nothing. So it's just like, that's what makes some of that scary to me. I get what you're saying, though, where it's like, bringing it closer to home helps. It makes it feel more grounded at a certain point, though. So I get you there. Yeah. But yeah, very much looking forward to that. It looks incredible, and anything by like anybody from the team who made anything from Dead Space. I'm like, I trust you guys. Let's go. I'm very intrigued by another one you got on here, which is High on Life.
Yes. Have you seen anything about
I've seen the full like IGN gameplay release that I've done for it.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm very interested in. My only concern for anybody who doesn't know, it's a video game being made by the team from Rick and Morty. At the very least, I know Justin Roiland is heavily involved in this game in terms of the writing and like making the game and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's very much the style of humor that's in the game. You have a gun. You're like, a lot of your items can talk to you. Like I know at least a gun that you have and a knife that you have can speak to you.
Can talk
and say things.
to you, yeah.
And that's sort of like how you get like tutorial information and bits of information from there and whatnot. My only concern for that, and this is always my concern with video games that try to be outright comedic games, is that I'm like, that self-referential humor in a game can kind of get a little repetitive and a little old after a while. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm curious to see like how this is going to keep that momentum of like that style of humor throughout the entire game. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you've seen Rick and Morty, if anything, I think that they're gonna like do that self-referential humor and just take it like well and above and beyond what we could even imagine, because that is what they do on Rick and Morty.
For sure,
they're just like, we're gonna get meta, then we're gonna get more meta, and then more meta.
They're really good at like pushing the joke past where you think the joke would stop working,
right?
And somehow it still works. So that's where I'm interested in it as well, and that's why I have some faith in it as well. I'm not saying that's gonna not work.
I have every faith in it.
I just have trepidations when it comes to video games that try to be funny games.
I get you,
because especially the other side for that too is that sometimes it's like the focus is more on like how funny can we make this versus like, well, the game's not very good. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
It's like more focus on the writing goes into it than it does the mechanics. But from what I've seen of the game mechanics, it looks like it's a solid FPS pretty much.
Yeah.
With like upgrade abilities and like different mechanics where he can use things. So like, as long as all the different items, there's enough like imagination thrown into all that stuff too, I think it'll be a solid title. It'll be a lot of fun.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about it, you can talk about Diablo 4.
Absolutely. I know, like, you're not excited for good games or whatever, but Diablo 4 has a release year.
Yeah, there's no official date
of 2023.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which is really cool.
At least we've got a year. Like, we got a 12-month span to get it out to us.
Yeah.
It's been. I mean, the last that we heard about it was like before COVID.
Yeah, way before COVID.
It was like
COVID
2019.
happened.
And it was, I think the last that we heard was in 2019 when there was some ability to play some of the game at E3.
Yes.
And it was cool because it looked like, oh yeah, like they're well on their way. Like it's going to be a whole game soon. Like cool,
yeah,
it's going
to be good to go.
And now here we are, 2022, October 2022, and we still don't have no game. So, which we kind of knew from Blizzard, right? We kind of knew that was a thing.
It's Blizzard.
So yeah.
Well, and also like they kind of had a messy couple years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There was something else that needed a little bit more focus.
Absolutely.
Than making a game. I was just there was some shit going on.
They had to get
addressed.
They had to get their house in order.
They really need to get their fucking house in order. Good Lord.
We're probably lucky it's not any more delayed than 2023. To be
good point.
Honest. But yeah, so Diablo 4 has a release year of 2023. It looks incredible. Necromancer is an official class in there, which I think it is official in Diablo 3 too. You can play as Necromancer. But anyways,
I think you can. I know when I tried Diablo 3 again, I know it wasn't an option then. It might have been added in.
It certainly is now because I've played as a Necromancer.
Got you. Okay. Because I remember being surprised because I played Diablo 2 way the fuck back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So seeing that the Necromancer wasn't there originally in 3, I was like, this was like one of the classes that everybody loved was the Necromancer. Why isn't it? No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you wouldn't fuck with Diablo 4? Or?
It's not my style of gameplay. It's just that top-down, like... That top-down, like, moving around.
Third-person shooter.
The third-person...
It's considered a third-person shooter.
Is it considered a third-person shooter?
I mean, yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I just like the way that the mechanic is. It's different than a third-person shooter to me.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
I know. Like a traditional third-person shooter.
It's just not... There we go.
What else would you call it?
I don't know.
God, perspective shooter? I don't know.
I wouldn't call it that.
Top down though.
Top down more than likely, yeah.
Shooter.
But it's just not my style. I get why people love it. I totally. It's just not my. I've tried it so many times with different games, especially with Diablo. It's not my jam, man.
That's fair.
Like I literally I feel like the last time I played Diablo 3, I played it for a few hours with a couple buddies, and I remember at one point I was just like, okay, and then the next thing I remembered was just hearing my friend in my headset go, dude, because I had fallen asleep just playing the fucking game. And I was just like, guys, I'm sorry. I'm bored. Like, I can't. Nothing about this is grabbing me.
I'm staring into the camera because our editor is laughing his ass off. Not right now, but in the future right now.
Yeah.
When he's watching this footage right now.
Because he's staring at you.
Because he's turned around to stare right at me and go, Because I have fallen asleep multiple times playing Diablo.
I've done it plenty of times in other games as well. I'm not saying it's like the only.
Yeah. No, but I've definitely fallen asleep playing Diablo 3
Wow.
a lot.
Okay.
That's nothing on Diablo 3. That's really just on how comfy my couch is.
It's the other problem sometimes too. Sometimes you got to sit in an uncomfortable chair to play a game.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's Diablo 4, 2023.
Very cool.
And then, have you heard about the new Star Wars game?
I have a little bit. Is this this isn't the new?
It's the sequel to
It is the sequel?
Fallen
Okay.
Order. Yeah. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I think there was another one where it was just like I heard it was happening and I didn't bother listening to anything else because I was like, you got my money. Like I'm not gonna, you don't.
What more
You,
do I need?
you don't need to sell it to me.
Yeah.
You got me. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's like Marvel now. I'm like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. But it has an ambiguous release year of 2023 as well.
Yeah.
And it is the sequel. It is Cal Kestis and what happens after the events of Jedi Fallen Order.
Just
exciting.
just really quickly here. Hey, Fallen Order fans, let's be fucking cool, okay? If they gotta push it, if they gotta for any game at all, let developers take their fucking time. But for this one especially, let them take their fucking time, okay? I want a good game, and I don't want them to feel pressured. Fallen Order is one of my favorite goddamn games ever fucking made. Don't fuck this up for me.
I love that.
Just Star Wars fans can be dicks. Let's not fuck this up.
Very true.
Take your time. Do whatever you need to do.
Godspeed to the developers.
Yeah.
Blessed are the developers.
Just I remember when I beat Fallen Order for the first time, and then I immediately started over it again because that's how I know I love a game because it's like that's happened with a few games where I've beaten it and I've gone, that was cool, let's do it again, like just like right away immediately. As long as I'm not like emotionally scarred from the ending of a game. Like Mass Effect 3 was like great.
We're walking away.
I need time.
Yeah.
Like I need to take a break from this real quick.
True.
But with Fallen Order, I was just like, that was cool. I want to do it again. Because like I also didn't know how I figured out how to play the game at the end of the game. So it was like, okay, now that I know what to do, let's go back to the beginning and like play it fucking proper. But it was one that I played and finished and went, this is awesome. I would love a sequel. But and I think we talked about this on our episode talking about Fallen Order, where I was just like, this would be cool if I get a sequel, but also if this is it,
That's fine.
I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like giving me more, I'm excited about, and I'm hopeful that just like it was out of like a passion for like there's so much more story to tell here, and not because it was successful and just did well another trying to franchise another part of Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just like I'm not even trepidatious. Like give it to me, please. But just like I hope it's like. Because the team was like, so we get to do another one, guys. Let's go. Like that's really what I want to see that passion again.
I have that feeling. I have the feeling that the people behind it were like, this is a really cool story, and we like telling this story about this character. It feels like it's got that at the heart of it, right?
Okay, cool.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anything else that you're excited?
Very excited about that one. I mean, I think we know by now the main thing that one of the big ones I'm psyched about is the Dead Space remake. Official release date January 27th, 2023. So that's also really close,
soon,
actually.
yeah.
That's pretty close. So gonna need to get on that fucking pre-order soon.
So I guess I'll have to really play it now.
You're gonna have to yes. Especially with the remake. Oh, you're definitely playing it. Definitely playing. It's such a good game. Even the originals are such good games. Just like and this is another game series too where it's just like especially for Dead Space 2, which I'm hoping this means that if this does well, it means we'll just get a remake of the whole series, of the whole original series, hopefully, which would be nice. Because we talked about it before, I think that just like there's so much that like as much as I love them, there's so much stuff that I think that like with a remake you can push more on and just like really do a lot more interesting stuff with in terms of like we talked about with the other title you had on here, seeing as the other farm simulator you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's getting a remake.
Yeah.
Just being like, listen, we had so many limitations that could not match our imagination. Now technology will allow that to kind of happen there. I'm hoping that it's going to kind of allow that to happen there too. Because there was so much stuff that you could tell like with the original Dead Space games. That's like, they really wanted it to be like a little bit more like randomized in terms of like enemy encounters or just like they really try to get the feeling of like, wherever you are, shit can happen. Something can just pop out at you wherever you want. So now maybe we can see that really come to light.
Yeah.
Because it was a little bit more scripted still at the time, just because of limitations and whatnot.
Right.
So that would be really, really cool to me. So that's where I'm very, very excited
Yeah,
about
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
something like that.
The thing that excites me most about remakes is always the quality of life improvements that come
Yes,
along.
exactly.
That's what I look forward to most in remakes, because a lot of the time I'm like, just give me the same game, but just make it easier for me to play. That's all I want, you know? Like, I don't even need the graphics better.
Yeah.
Like, it's a nice, obviously, like, getting the graphics and, like,
It is
processing
nice.
and all of that. But I'm just like, just make it easier.
I'm
you
just,
know?
for me, it's not like making it easier is the wrong way. It's just like polish up the mechanics more to where they
Yeah.
translate better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's some stuff where it's like, I get what you're trying to do here, but like this doesn't work.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the human brain doesn't function like this, guys. Why are you trying to make me do all this?
Right.
This doesn't make any sense. So that's the big one. The other couple things here, because I think, like I said, I watched the Disney Marvel thing.
Yeah.
For all their announcements. I'm not a big Disney person. I'm a bit more of a Marvel guy, but there's not big. I'm not against it, but just like there's not as big as a Disney person. Most of these don't have like major dates or even titles for some of the stuff yet. But there is some sort of a Captain America Black Panther game coming out.
Interesting.
Set during World War II.
Further interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's kind of all we got for it. That's kind of all the information we have there.
So is it like T'Challa's granddaddy, or?
I don't know. It would have to be one of the older Black Panthers for sure. But like, yeah, I don't know. And I've asked my wife about it, who is a huge Marvel geek, and she's like, oh. So I was like, cool, you're not helpful at all right now. Great.
Maybe it's just like another AU.
Probably. The other thing that I'm interested in, even though this isn't totally this isn't my jam, from the developers of Pokemon Go, they're making a Marvel World Heroes game. So it sounds like they're going to be doing a sort of like Pokemon Go style thing, but with Marvel, which I'm like, that could be fun. I could see doing
So
that.
you go out into the wild and you catch wild Peter Parkers.
I would imagine the idea and the mechanic would be you build your own hero team to go out and either fight villains or other hero teams or something like that. But it was just very similar to that first announcement trailer or announcement teaser for Pokemon Go back in the day, where you just showed people going out their phones and then like having a random encounter with somebody and Pokemon fighting and blah 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 blah.
Okay.
It was very much akin to that, where it's like it was like, cool, this isn't what it's going to look like at all, but you know, more to get you the idea of what's going to be happening.
Sure.
The only other one I want to mention real quickly here from the Disney side of things is they've announced just a trailer with a couple images for a new Tron game that's coming out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No idea what it's about. It's literally one of those ones where it's like techno heavy music as it does a close up on something Tron-esque looking, and then the camera backs out and it's been close up on the letters Tron. And like that's
so
pretty
like
much
very little,
pretty much just to be like, we're making a Tron game,
right?
And then, sorry, I'm kind of blowing through it. We're getting there on time, and there's one thing I want to talk about here the most, and I just want to see. Just need to pull this up real quick just to make sure I got some information here, right? Because I don't think it's there's no. Okay, date for is going to be 2023, so they've announced a new Assassin's Creed game, which is. It's a complicated relationship between me and Assassin's Creed.
There's so many games.
There's so many games, number one. And two, it's just like you feel it fall off the fucking path at a certain point, unfortunately.
How many times can we do the same story?
You know what I mean?
Over.
Because here's the thing that happened here, and this is to break down just like a very quick basic like timeline of what happened with Assassin's Creed. You've got the first four games altogether that are following a main storyline, which is the story of Desmond Miles within the games of Assassin's Creed, which is the point of view that all of these things are happening through. Basic broad strokes ideas. Desmond Miles is put into a device that allows him to access the memories and his DNA from his ancestors that were part of the Assassin's Creed.
Right.
That is sort of like the idea of what's happening in the game mechanically and whatnot. And so you have Assassin's Creed 1, 2, then Brotherhood, then Revelations, which two Brotherhood and Revelations are the trilogy that follow Ezio Auditore, who becomes the Grandmaster of the Assassin's Creed Guild before he retires and leaves. And then that encompasses that. And then 3 is where you go into the Revolutionary War. And when I first picked it up, I was like, cool, we're continuing the story of Desmond Miles. And everyone kind of thought the way that everything was going to work out was like, slowly but surely the mechanic of going into the past will sort of phased out. of the game, and eventually you will just be playing as Desmond as a modern day assassin working in the times as they are now.
Right.
Which how it was playing out tracked totally makes sense because you started doing assassin-y shit as Desmond in the current time of the world and whatnot, and you were like, cool. And then they killed him in Assassin's Creed 3 at the end of the fucking game. Spoilers, by the way. Sorry.
No.
They killed him unceremoniously, very little explanation, kind of implying that his death would trigger some sort of like apocalypse-like events.
Okay.
And then
we've really lost the plot.
And then another game comes out and everything's fine. They 4 comes out and everything's fine. You're just playing as some other fucking dude who's working for the company that made the device that allows you to go into the past. And just like, yeah, it all gets so fucking muddled and weird and crazy. And just like, clearly what happened was that they were just like, well, this is a franchise. We have to try to milk this thing for as long as we can. So fuck whatever the plan was. We got to do this. But part of the announcement for this new game, Assassin's Creed Mirage, that has happened is that I don't like it because one, they're going back in time again, like further back in time again to around the same time, I believe, as the first Assassin's Creed is happening. So sort of it's Middle East, if I remember right, like around the time of like the Inquisition and stuff like that. Like, well,
Yeah. Okay.
more specifically around the time of like when the Templars really start
Okay.
gaining, like really start making their moves in terms of like their attempt to have their religious ideas like reach globally and whatnot. You know what I mean? Which and they keep saying it's gonna go back to the original mechanics of just like being sneaky, really being an assassin because I'm playing through Origins right now just to see because it was free on Game Pass, and it has turned into such a just like it's an RPG now. It's a full blown RPG, and I'm just kind of like, I don't mind those elements being there, but that's not what this is supposed to be. This is a stealth game. Originally,
So there's too much like inventory and equipment and like the blah 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 of an RPG, or
kind of, yeah. Well, then also like with that, a lot of the mechanics of how the game feels has completely changed. Like it doesn't feel like a stealth game of like, how do I get into this area without anybody seeing me? It's more just kind of like, how do I just stack up my equipment so I can run in there and just kill everybody without a fucking problem?
like a Prince of Persia almost.
Sort of, yeah. Very much so, like that. And it's just like the spirit just kind of died in Assassin's Creed for me in a sense. So if they are going to go back to basics, I'm intrigued but still very, very trepidatious about it because I'm like, ugh. It's just like, look, I've been almost every game that comes out for Assassin's Creed, I give it a shot and I try just to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm being too much of an asshole. I'm being too judgmental. Just like, I as a person don't like change. Like, maybe that's a part of what's going on here. But then when I play it, I'm just kind of like, the feel's wrong. You know what I mean? The feels, it would be like if the new Zelda game came out and you started playing it and there was just like a highly visceral, like realistic violence and blood everywhere. You'd be like, no. This isn't the soul of the game.
Yeah.
This isn't what this is supposed to be. What? Like, you can change it. It could be different, but like it's not this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To be fair, I kind of felt that way about Breath of the Wild.
Which is fair.
I've spoken on this before.
You have,
Right,
yes.
So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm hopeful for it. I'm really, really hopeful for it. And I don't want to shit talk to them that isn't out yet because I just talked about how that's bad at the top of the fucking episode.
Yeah,
I know. And at least with this one, there is the context that like I've been burned in this series already. So I'm just like, it's tough. It's tough falling in love with something that I fell so far out of love with it at a certain point. And it's rough too because it like Assassin's Creed 1 through Redemption or wait, something like that. Sorry, it's part of the Ezio trilogy that I mentioned before. Those are some of my favorite games. Like I love these games. I have all the collections for them, and just like I've played them so many times over and over and over again. That just like to me, and that could be part of the problem too. Is like to me, that's what Assassin's Creed is that feel of game. So when shit really started to change. It was okay. This was working. I don't know why we had to completely throw it out the window, but like, fine, I guess. But I'm alone apparently. But since they're pretty much talking about like going back to the original drawing board of how it's supposed to feel and whatnot, it is validating that I'm like, apparently I wasn't alone. Like other people seem to feel that way as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. But I'll give it a shot when it comes out. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this because so far it's just cinematic trailers that have come out.
Sure.
And I'm just like, okay, let's just see what happens if we could kind of get that feel back and make the story also feel like it's back on track. Would be nice.
Get it back on the rails.
Get it back on the rails, please, God. It could have been such a cool... It could have been so cool. It could have been such a cool idea of like slowly merging the past stuff out and slowly venting until just like now we're just like now it's just about what's happening right now with Desmond. Would have been such a fucking cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope that it lives up to your expectations when you do get it. I hope,
even if it's different than my expectations, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they come out with something else, then it's like it's different than that, and I'm just gonna like, oh, but this still works for me. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope it meets or exceeds your expectations.
I would love
along
that
with
too.
all of the other games on our list. I hope all of them meet or exceed our expectations because we will go broke buying all of them.
Well, it's true. It's true. You have all of our money already.
Dang. Thank you all so much for listening. We want to know, what are you excited for in the world of video games? Are you looking forward to the same things that we are? Or is there something that you're looking forward to that we didn't mention at all? Let us know in the comments.
Also, if you have any ideas for future discussions on our show, send us an email at 3VOpodcastteam@gmail.com. Give us your ideas. You can also find us pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on TikTok still. We haven't done anything on there in a while, but we're going to get back on it, I promise. At 3VO Podcast. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe our show. Please share this stuff too. That helps out a lot, guys. Just like, even just dropping it in your story real quick on Instagram just to say, new episode, woo! Really makes a difference to us. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.